I'm Andy.
And welcome to
Sinister Dynasty.
Alright, so today we're talking about Scott Graham Guy.
No, I haven't heard of him before. Scott Graham Guy. So, yeah.
Scott Guy.
Oh, Scott Guy. Okay.
Still haven't heard of him?
No.
It's from up north.
Okay. Cool.
This is quite a recent one, so...
What'd you say in one of the other podcasts? Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, it's like, it's going to get real higgledy-piggledy at the end.
Okay.
So, just bear with me. Alright, are we ready?
Yes.
I'm not. Okay. Born 21st of December. I didn't say December correctly. I'm shooting myself.
No, you'll be good.
Okay, born 21st of December 1978. Scott was a farmer who grew up on his family farm in Braeburn, which had been in the family for 90 years. With his parents, it's going to read weird as well. I wrote it down weird, so just bear with me. His parents, Joe, Brian, he had a sister Anna, brother Callum, and another sister Nikki. He was the second eldest of these children. As a kid, he was a typical farm boy who loved being outdoors with piercing blue eyes that brightened everyone's day. Scott always wanted to be a cowboy.
Did he have the mullet to go with it? Or?
I should have looked that up. Honestly, the further we read into this, you're going to be like, you should have a mullet.
Okay.
All the other, all of their children, all the Guy children, excelled in school. To the point in 1 year, Nikki was school president, Scott was house captain, and Anna starred as Tallulah in the school's rendition of the musical Bugsy Malone.
Oh, good on them.
So Scott was popular and he was remembered as an all-round nice guy. He did well at school but wasn't really interested. He left school to go to, my apologies for my pronunciation, Taratahi Agriculture School in Masterton.
Taratahi.
Which was an hour and a half from his home. I haven't said where he lived, have I? Braeburn.
An hour and a half from...
He lives an hour and a half from Masterton and Braeburn, which is Feilding. There we are.
Oh, Feilding. Oh, I love Feilding.
So, while he was at school, he met a girl and dated her for a while, but she wanted to move to Wellington. He did go with her, but he was never into the city life.
Yeah, fuck that. Cities suck. No offence to cities or the people who live there.
He rang home wanting a job on the farm, and his parents were more than happy to have him back. So he moved into a cottage on the farm with his sister Anna and her partner Ewan. So he worked on the family farm a bit, but he moved about a lot.
Yeah.
So after working on several farms and a short stint studying for a diploma in agriculture at Massey University in Palmerston North, he left for Australia to work on...
The mines?
No,
Oh.
to work on a farm.
Oh, okay.
Where he would muster cattle on horseback.
Muster
This is like
cattle.
my dream. I would
That's like
love to do
actual
this.
cowboy shit.
Yeah.
Eh? Yeah. Oh, did he have like the lasso? Lasso.
I don't know how they do it.
Very cool though.
But yeah, so this fulfilled his dream of being a cowboy.
Nice.
The team that he worked with formed a strong bond. They called themselves Team Delta. Such a strong bond that they had Delta tattooed on their backs.
Oh.
When
Classy.
when he returned to New Zealand, he again worked on his family farm. This was in 2003. I honestly do not know how he's done so much in such a short amount of time, but
He likes to move a lot.
He was responsible for raising the cows on the farm and growing the crops for cows. So backtracking a wee bit, Anna's partner, Ewan MacDonald, worked on the farm since leaving school at 16. So Ewan had worked on the family farm since leaving school at 16. He had worked his way up to running the dairy operation on the farm.
And this was his sister's
Yeah. So
boyfriend,
Scott's
yeah.
sister Anna.
Had a boyfriend, Ewan.
Had a boyfriend.
Had a boyfriend. E-I-E-I-O.
I've lost where I was, God's sake. He was also, he married Scott's sister Anna, who they had 4 children. When he dropped out of high school to work at the farm full time, he was Anna's high school boyfriend. And the family took him in like a son. Ewan said he was drawn in by the loving, supporting family. Ewan and Scott got on well and played in the same rugby team, Feilding Yellows. When Ewan wanted to propose to Anna, he told Scott first, who responded, "You've been hanging around long enough. You've made for each other."
Oh, nice.
When they did get married, Scott was one of the best men.
Aww.
This is long, so just be prepared. So, the family farm was mainly dairy, and Scott didn't want to milk cows for a living. When another job came up in Hawke's Bay, Scott took the opportunity to do something new, where he followed the rodeo doing bull riding.
Oh.
He was briefly on TV, being called a daredevil.
Ooh, so he still had the delta on his back, and he was good on him.
Yeah, but they do wear like vests, proper.
Oh, I thought they just wore like the handkerchief thing around.
No, they don't do it shirtless.
I'd watch. No.
I bet you would. So after one particular rodeo, he met Kylie. So they met when he was 18, and they had an instant connection. They were a perfect match, inseparable, and adored each other.
Oh, young love.
So eventually Scott's contract in Napier came to an end, and he needed to return to the family farm. So
long distance wouldn't have been a thing then, would it?
Well, it is.
Okay.
2 seconds. Kylie visited Scott, and Scott visited Kylie, but not long into their long distance, he asked her to marry him.
Oh.
So she moved to Feilding.
Okay, yeah. Makes sense.
So his parents, his mother, I don't know why I've got no on there, an E on there. So Joe said Scott was outgoing and gracious. He loved animals and people, and was a real farm boy.
Sorry, I'm just interrupting you. I've just realised that you said it's like 2003, and I just said that long distance wasn't a thing then. Sorry, sorry, it completely was a thing then. Carry on.
Joe said Scott was outgoing and gracious. He loved animals and people, and was a real farm boy. He loved his family more than anything. If you haven't clicked on, Scott dies.
Oh, does he? I thought he was a murderer.
No, Scott's not a murderer.
Oh. Well, that's good, but like, oh.
So, Scott married Kylie in 2005. She was, at the time, she was training to be an early childhood teacher.
Very nice.
They had their first child, Hunter, who was born 3 years later. And on July 8th, 2010, Kylie was 7 months pregnant with their second son, Drover.
Mm-hmm.
Scott was an amazing father and hubby, and after the morning chores, he would go home to breakfast Kylie cooked and play with Hunter and take him out on the farm. In 2010, Scott became more involved with the farm, managing it alongside Ewan. But Brian Guy, who was Scott's dad, would remain in charge of the farm. So both farm managers earned about $100,000 per year.
Yeah, wow. And that's like 20 years ago as well. Oh no, maybe like 15 years ago.
2010.
Yeah, that's 13 years ago now. That's
pretty
damn good money. That's awesome.
Yeah, but the job's frippin' ruthless.
That's true.
Right, are you ready? July 8th, 2010. Scott got up in the morning and made a coffee. He checked his computer. His last keystroke was about 4:41.
In the morning. Obviously he's a farmer, yep.
It's not confirmed what time he left, but they've established the earliest he could have gotten to the gate was 4:43.
That's pretty fast between computer to gate.
Yes.
Okay.
You keep that in mind because that'll come back up later.
Well, it's like the David Bain thing with his computer.
No, it's it's just sort of a timestamp more or less. But
Okay.
just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So Scott was due to start work at 10 to 5, which was a minute drive from his house. He would usually arrive about 10 to 5 to start work.
That rhymed. You can be Dr. Seuss. Usually arrived about 10 to 5.
So at between 4:45 to 5 a.m, Scott drove his silver Hilux, down his driveway in Feilding on his way to the milking shed. He had to make an unexpected stop to open the gate that he did not close the night before.
Oh.
So the only time this gate was closed was when they were moving stock, and he would have been the one to shut it. So the only light that was... Man, I wrote this weird. The only light was the headlight of the vehicle.
So he was driving probably like, I don't know, 30 seconds down the road, because he just said it was a minute to get to work, and he was like, oh no, the gate was closed. He could only see it because of the headlights of his car. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. When he stepped out of his vehicle, he was shot dead.
Oh.
So he died where he fell from gunshot wounds to the head, face, and arms.
Shit. Oh no, I have heard of this case. I have. Because I used to live in Palmy, so my friend's taken me to this location. Okay, no, I know. Carry on. Yeah.
We were talking about this at work the other day.
Yeah.
Okay. At 5:03, Ewan texts Scott saying, "Are you up?" When he wasn't,
you up? Sorry.
You up? When he wasn't there by 5:40, he rang him with no answer. At 7 a.m, David Berry walked out of his house on his way to work as a truck driver for the freezing works.
I'm guessing he's a neighbour or something.
Yep. Yeah. He saw Scott's ute he saw Scott's ute headlights shining down the driveway. Barry filled in his logbook, started the 44-ton Volvo, and he went slowly up the road. When passing Scott's ute, he was blinded by the headlights, but noticed Scott's boots and body and slammed on the brakes so hard he left tire marks.
Jeez.
He backed up and ran over to Scott, thinking he'd been knocked out while moving stock. When he arrived, he couldn't feel a pulse. All he could see was the throat wound and blood everywhere.
Oh, awful.
Berry called the police at 7:08. He said, "My neighbour has had his bloody throat cut." The operator said the killer might still be there. Barry got back in the truck and locked the doors. He then called his landlord, Bruce Johnstone, who lived 500 metres down the road. When Bruce arrived shortly after on his quad with his partner's son, Ashley, he had a quick look at the body and called Ewan, which was at 7:16. The police arrived, and shortly after, so did Ewan. At 7:21, distressed and incoherent, Ewan called Brian, Scott's father, and then at 7:47, Brian rang Jo to tell her the news. So, 3 chocolate-coloured Labrador puppies also disappeared from the farm at the time of the death.
Okay, I knew about the location, but I didn't know any of this, so this is...
So
pups went missing too.
boot prints were found. 7 puppies were there the night before when they were fed by Scott.
Yeah.
And only 4 were there. They were in the process of selling the puppies for $700 each. So more than 1,000 people attended Scott's funeral. The Australian Outback crew carried the coffin into the church, and his siblings, along with Ewan, Kylie and her 2 sisters, carried it out. As the Australian jackaroos cracked their whips, and as a respect for their mate, his dog sat on the back of his ute. So, the coroner's findings.
He was shot in the throat.
The forensic scientists that examined the body and the murder scene estimated the 2 blasts from the gunshot were fired between 2 to 6 metres away, most likely between 3 to 4. So the first shot hit his throat, destroying his voice box with some pellets stopping in his upper chest. tearing a 13-centimetre hole in his chest. His jaw shattered as the pellets passed upwards through his mouth, eye socket and into his brain.
Ooh.
The second bullet hit Scott's face, left arm, and possibly as he was falling.
Oh, okay. I was going to say had that happened, but that makes sense.
During the investigation, over 100 police were involved, having interviewed 2,500 people.
Wow.
With not having a strong lead from this, months passed with nothing. The police then released photos of vandalism that had been put on Scott and Kylie's house in 2019, which included abusive graffiti.
Oh.
Yep. Someone came forward stating it looked like their previous employee's handwriting, who was identified as Callum Bow.
What's Callum's relation to all of this? Or has he been mentioned before?
No.
Okay.
He was just a previous employee from someone, but we'll link the two soon.
Okay.
So, when the police spoke to Callum, he admitted that he and Ewan, Scott's brother-in-law, went on night missions together.
Oh.
Which included shooting neighbours' stags, dumping milk, and killing calves on other farms.
Wait, so Ewan was doing this?
Yep. Torching.
Oh.
They torched a historic duck shooting lodge that had they'd been previously caught by a farmer shooting and beheading their stags. When they were confronted by the farmer, he only requested that the stag's heads be returned to him and an apology. This put Ewan into a rage, and he further acted out.
Wait, so why did he act out? Because he didn't get
Because he didn't like... No, this was Ewan.
Yeah.
Ewan was asked to return the stag heads and asked to apologise.
Yeah.
And he did not like
and he
that.
did not... Oh, what a dick. Sorry. No, I shouldn't say that.
So, the vandalism on Scott and Kylie's home caused $14,000 worth of damage.
Ew.
The confession from Callum led police to arrest Ewan, as their night mission showed that he could commit violent acts and get away undetected. So, Callum Bow had an alibi. He was in Queenstown at Scott's time of death. 2 days after Callum had confessed, the police went to Ewan's home, where he was...
Wait, so Callum confessed even though he wasn't in... Even though he was in Queenstown?
He didn't confess to the murder.
He just confessed to the violent things.
Yeah, to the acts.
Wait, so have I linked this up properly? If they did that together, does that mean that him and Ewan had a fallout?
No, I don't think they had a fallout.
No, like Scott and Ewan.
Well, we're about to find out, aren't we?
Whoa.
Okay, so 2 days after Callum had confessed, the police went to Ewan's home where he was having Weet-Bix for breakfast, and they took him in for questioning. After hours of interrogation and Ewan denying his involvement, he finally confessed to the night missions with Callum, but swore he did not kill Scott. Police did not believe him, so they charged him with the murder of his brother-in-law. The charge was laid based on circumstantial evidence.
Okay.
So there's no hard evidence against Ewan.
Yeah.
It's just hearsay.
Yeah.
So, 2 weeks before Scott passed, he and Ewan travelled to Invercargill together for a dairying conference. Their sister Nikki said that they had a fantastic time. She said they come back upbeat and talked and resolved any issues that they had had. Ewan was positive and had worked out a good work-life balance to see his family more, because Ewan was doing like full-on hard labour,
farming work stuff.
like up at 3, home at 7.
Oh jeez. Okay.
Like farming's not
Yeah, not a joke.
So, April 2011, Scott's brother-in-law Ewan, I don't know why I keep saying that, was charged with the murder in 2000. That doesn't make sense.
Well, it kind of does. So Ewan's been charged with the murder.
In 2011, Ewan was charged with the murder in 2012. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay.
But maybe he was arrested in 2011.
Ewan...
We'll just say that. And then,
Ewan was arrested at some point.
yeah, and then charged in 2012.
4 weeks the trial went on for. Family, friends, and I don't know. I told you this read weird. Okay, 4 weeks. For 4 weeks the trial went.
Yeah.
Okay. He did not give any evidence at his trial.
To say that he did or didn't do anything.
No, so he would have had to plead.
Yeah.
But his lawyer would have said, "Oh, we plead
Not
either
guilty.
or not guilty."
Yeah.
And then so he can ask to give evidence at his own trial, so a statement.
Right. Yeah, and he didn't do that.
He was told not to do that.
Okay.
Okay. In the end, I'm going to hold off on that.
Oh.
Okay? I'm going to hold off on that.
No.
First.
No.
But Kylie, as of 2013, felt strongly that it is important for her and her 2 boys to be assured all steps were taken to determine the circumstances surrounding Scott's death. They don't feel like this has happened.
Okay.
Okay, so the trial started 2 years after Scott passing.
Okay.
Okay, so from the trial against Ewan, so what the Crown thought happened. Ewan used the farm shotgun and was wearing size 9 Pro-Line dive boots while committing the crime. Ewan then rode his bicycle back to the farm, which was 1.46 k away, arriving back just after 5 a.m. where he started milking the cows. He then tried to make it look like a robbery by killing 3 lab puppies, which were kept in the shed near his house. The police did excavate some of the property looking for the boots, puppies and shotgun, but found nothing. They stated that he had a 19-minute window to kill Scott, to get to Scott, commit the murder and get back in time for milking.
Okay.
19 minutes.
Yeah, but remember he was only like a minute drive from the gate.
Yeah,
Oh, that was Scott though.
That's drive. He's
Oh,
on a
true.
bicycle.
He's on a, okay.
Like push bike.
Right. Okay. Never mind. Yeah.
Right. So, this is the facts laid out a wee bit differently. So, Ewan biked the 1.5 kilometres between his house and Scott's driveway, closed the gates, waited till Scott arrived on his way to work. At 4:43, he killed Scott with the farm shotgun when Scott got out of his ute to open the gates. At some stage, police claimed Ewan stole 3 Labrador puppies that Scott and Kylie were raising in a shed near their house to make it look like a burglary gone wrong. Ewan then biked home, hid anything incriminating, cleaned himself up and walked to the nearby farm workshop to unlock it at 5:02 and begin the day's work. So, 19 minutes to kill. That was the police's theory. So, that gave him just over 10 minutes to shoot Scott and do the following. Walk over to him, check he was dead, because there were footprints found beside the body.
Yeah.
Collect the shotgun shells, which were never found. So, 2 were found, but they were found by police. Retrieve his bike. No bike tracks were ever found. Cycle home. Police suggest this took around 4 minutes. There are also 10 houses between Scott and Ewan's. Dispose of the puppies, if he hadn't done this already, and the shotgun shells. Return the bike to his garage without leaving any traces of mud and water. It had been raining. Clean the gun and break it into 3 parts, storing them separately in the farm office. Check he didn't have any telltale marks on himself. Get rid of his clothes, particularly his boots, and change into his milking gear.
Okay, so this is sounding highly unlikely.
All this by just after 5 a.m. when he was seen coming from his home looking as if he had just gotten up, so he wasn't tired or anything.
Yeah.
Wasn't puffed from biking.
Yeah.
Because biking is difficult.
It is.
Retrieving the farm workshop key, unlocking the door and deactivating the alarm at 5:02.
Yeah, nah, okay. I shouldn't have called him a dick before. There was bad.
I mean, he's a dick for
vandalising things. But surely that's not possible in 19 minutes. Yeah.
Right. So, there are 4 main flaws. So, the Crown claimed that Scott was killed with 2 blasts from the shotgun, which happened at 4:43 a.m. 4 nearby residents testified that they heard 3 shots in quick succession at 5 a.m. There were witnesses who saw Ewan on the farm at 5 a.m, so he could not be the killer. They also killed, and they didn't kill anyone else. They also called an American shooting champion as a witness who advised the farm shotgun had to be reloaded after 2 shots, so it was not possible for 3 shots to be fired that quickly. If the neighbours heard 3 shots, it could not have been the farm's double-barrel shotgun. The witness suggested that a semi-automatic weapon had to be used. So Bonnie Fredrickson, who lived 500 metres from Scott, said that she heard 3 shots fired with regular intervals between the shots, so one after another.
Yeah.
She has experience with hunting and guns.
Yeah. So she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah. So the defence relied heavily on her testimony as she was awake at the time that she heard these. So Derek Shop, who was also living with Beth, was woken around 4:45 and heard 2 shots. He later spoke to Beth and agreed that he was woken by the first and heard the second and third shot.
Okay, yeah.
Brian also confirmed that the shotgun was where he left it in pieces. So this was a double barrel and wasn't able to, so like, man, I'm going home with my point, aren't I? So Ewan didn't own any guns, and there's no evidence that he knew where the farm one was.
And even if it was the farm one, it was in pieces, wasn't it?
So it was where Brian had left it. It'd be, in my opinion, it would be weird if Ewan didn't know where the shotgun was, because they occasionally need it to put down animals that are
Although
suffering.
maybe Brian had heard about the vandalising by then though, so chose to hide it. I don't know.
He'd still know where the shotgun was, because if something went wrong on the farm, you want to put an animal out as soon as you can. But it was still, it cannot fire 3 shots.
Yeah.
Ewan did go duck shooting in the season, but borrowed his father's guns. But at the time, they were all accounted for at his father's house, locked away, which Ewan also didn't have access to unlock them. Okay, second piece of evidence. Tyre marks were found at the scene of the crime, and a mystery sedan was seen on Ararangi Road.
So they think it was a car, not a bike. Well, the evidence suggests.
The defence think, there's no bike.
Yeah.
But the Crown
think it
going
is.
home with that.
Yeah.
Which police did not investigate.
Oh.
A cigarette packet was found outside the house, which matched a packet that had been stolen by a burglar who had a history of local burglaries and shotgun crimes. Concerns were also raised about a man who had come looking for Scott a few days before his death. Next piece of evidence. The forensic evidence was also questioned about the size of the scene. It said that there were more than 50 footprints next to the body, and they were all made by Proline dive boots. They said that the 33 wavy lines on the plaster impression of the boot sole was not compatible with size 9, and that they would have come from a size 11 or size 12 boots. So the Crown is saying they're size 9 Proline dive boots, but from the distance between the lines and the amount of lines, they're size
10 or 11.
11 or 12.
11 or 12.
Okay. Ewan did wear Proline dive boots when he went camping and hunting, but Anna confirmed that his boots had been thrown out 2 years earlier. There was a charge for Proline dive boots that was sold at Palmerston North Hunting and Fishing, which was owned by Ewan's father, while the retail price for the boots was $60. The wholesale price was $35. There was evidence of a Visa purchase from February 2004 of $35. So they could have been the Proline dive boots.
Yeah.
But this was 2010. Who owns shoes
exactly.
that
And
long?
they could have been the ones that got thrown
and
out.
it's also not determined that he did buy that.
Yeah.
So they also investigated the chance of the boots being thrown into one of the two farms' effluent ponds. But that is very unlikely because they dredged it. one more complication to the police theory of the 19 minutes to kill. So, farm worker Matthew Ireland. The exact time Ireland arrived at the shed behind McDonald's house ready for work is impossible to pinpoint, but it was likely between 4:40 and 4:50 a.m. He waited in his car for some time before seeing McDonald emerging from his house at 5 a.m. So it's unlikely Ewan could have snuck back after killing Scott Guy and stashed his bike and guns and clothes without tripping a security light or Ireland noticing him.
Yeah.
So even if Ireland's arrival is at the extreme ends of the estimate, 4:50 a.m, and Scott Guy's murder occurred at the earliest possible time, 4:43.
4:50, you mean, in 4:43?
4:43.
Yeah.
Then the 19 minutes police claimed Ewan had to carry out the murders suddenly shrinks to just 7. Liam Collins, who was one of Ewan's lawyers, spent months going through 40,000 pages of evidence trying to create a credible storyline that put Ewan at the time of the crime.
Wait, so he was working against Ewan, so he was trying to put him...
No, so he was trying to establish...
that Ewan wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By showing...
that it was just impossible
for him to actually be there.
Yeah, okay.
At the trial, Nikki testified saying that Ewan said Scott was shot despite him talking to others. She said she heard him say to Brian, but Brian didn't recall this, that Scott's been shot. Ewan called his parents to let them know. When he did this, he said that Scott had died. When they asked how, he said he didn't know. There were other witnesses who said they did not hear Ewan say Scott was shot. So they've now got someone who said Ewan said Scott was shot before anyone knew how he died.
Right.
Okay. So the verdicts from the court with this evidence.
Yeah.
After 11 hours of deliberation, the jury found Ewan not guilty.
Okay.
After a short break, Justice Simon France reminded Ewan for sentencing. What is going on? 2 seconds. After a short break, Justice Simon France reminded Ewan for a sentencing date on other charges. A year later, Brian insisted that justice had prevailed and did not want the case to drag on for years without being solved, and made a plea to the killer to give themselves up.
Yeah.
So...
Wait, Brian was Scott's dad, eh?
Yes.
Yep, okay, yep.
So we're going to talk about a possible motive.
For who? For
Ewan.
For Ewan, okay.
Yeah, so what motive would Ewan have for killing Scott?
Yeah.
So, with Scott out of the way, Ewan could be able to be the sole manager on the farm, and he would be able to buy out Nikki and Callum's shares. But this does not make sense, as he would still need to buy out Kylie.
Yeah. And also they got on real well, apparently, by the sounds of it.
At the end, they did. There was a wee bit of scruffle and tuffle.
But at the end they did, so before the shooting,
yeah,
they got along, yeah.
But Kylie and Scott had a long-term plan to move back to Hawke's Bay within 10 to 15 years and have their own small farm.
So we could have bought them out then anyway. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Another theory. So, at a family meeting in 2008, Scott said that he expected to inherit the farm. This led to tension between Scott and Ewan. In May 2008, Joe and Brian transferred 400 shares representing 20% of the business to Scott, Ewan and their wives. It was made clear at this time that Scott would not inherit the farm, and if he wanted to own it, he would have to buy everyone out. At the trial, it was argued by the Crown that Scott still wanted the farm, and went to one of the family meetings with an agenda outlining his demands. It was claimed by a prosecutor that this was Scott's death warrant. There was like an accusation,
Wait, so he wanted to buy the farm. So he wanted to buy the farm out, or get given the farm,
He thought he deserved to inherit the farm.
Okay.
But he's got 3 other family members.
Yeah, so it's a bit. So you get a quarter of the farm.
A wee bit of a long shot, but yeah.
Worth a try.
It was also said by the family that after Brian had a discussion with Scott, telling him that if he wanted to buy the farm, he had to buy everyone out.
Yeah.
Scott's attitude changed. So it was a good attitude change.
No, okay, so he's like, nah, I don't want to buy anyone out. Fair enough again as well.
So at this current point in time, all the family, excluding Nikki, have been removed as shareholders from the farm by Brian and Joe.
So
That's weird to me.
So why did they remove them as shareholders? Because they didn't want them to have...
Because it just got so messy, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Another theory. Someone was stealing the puppies and Scott disturbed the thief, resulting in him being shot.
Well, it's probably the most logical out of all
This
of
has
them.
been debunked as the thief would have seen the headlights coming.
The thief would have seen the headlights coming.
From where he was stealing the puppies, so he couldn't have been disturbed.
No.
Sort of thing. He would have been able to hide.
Yeah.
Another theory, drug related. So Scott found a plot and pulled it out, like a plot of weed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This was also debunked. I don't know how. I read the book, but it was intense.
Yeah.
So other events that happened. There were a number of other outstanding charges in June 2007 where Ewan and Bo had killed 19 calves belonging to a farmer who had caught them poaching his deer. So these are the other charges that Ewan was done for.
Yeah.
So Ewan was also convicted of burning down a whare.
Buddy, yeah. You got it.
Yeah, which was 120 years old.
Ooh.
And emptying thousands of dollars worth of milk from a vat on another neighbouring farm.
Oh my god.
They committed these acts as retribution after they were informed for trespassing and made apologise. That didn't make sense.
Made
Whatever.
apologies, yeah.
Yeah. So, December 30th, 2006, 2 trophy deer worth $17,000 each were shot.
Oh.
They weren't insured. August 8th or 9th in 2007, they destroyed 16,000 litres of milk at Graham Sexton's farm. They killed calves belonging to Paul Barber.
Well, okay, but even if Ewan is painted in this light, which he sounds like a bit of a... He got on the wrong side of the law.
Yeah.
But, it does not put him at the time of the murder, so I can see why he was called not guilty. No. Yeah, it makes sense.
We haven't finished though.
Okay.
January 30th, 2009, they vandalised Scott and Kylie's new home, which they were building.
Oh.
And
what Ewan did?
Yep.
Oh, that's rough.
I know. Anna testified at the murder trial that her husband's relationship with Bo was immature and she was unaware of what they were doing on their regular night missions. The police were also arrested Bo, who admitted to his involvement on the night missions. September 2012, Ewan was jailed for 5 years on these charges.
Yeah. He
was eligible to attend his first parole hearing in December 2012. It was also said that they'd done from $500,000 to $600,000 worth of damage on their night missions.
Wow.
Ewan did change though after everything happened, like before Scott died.
Oh, like when he got in a better headspace.
Yeah, when he was in a better headspace, he would go out of his way to, help Scott and Kylie. He brought Kylie this specific plant.
Yeah.
He helped them landscape the new yard, all this stuff. So he was sort of trying to make amends, most probably.
Yeah.
Right. Another interesting thing. So 2 rural delivery drivers reported threatening notes that had been at Scott and Kylie's letterbox around the time of the arson and vandalism, saying, "Stay away from them, Kylie, you whore, and you cheating whore, what goes around comes around."
Ooh.
And also, now you know what it feels like to lose something you love, but no one ever saw these notes or were aware of them.
Wait, so who said that they were there?
The postie.
Oh.
It is said though that apparently Scott found them, but he got rid of them so Kylie would never see them.
Oh, okay.
But we don't know.
Yeah. But if the postie saw them, I guess.
Yeah. There was... Yeah.
Don't know how the postie would have seen it unless they weren't in... I don't know.
No, they were just they were notes. like ripped up pieces of paper.
And he still delivered them. Oh, here you go, mate.
Left them in there, yeah.
Sorry.
Put them in the letterbox. The postie was putting the letters in the letterbox.
So maybe the postie wrote the letters. Sorry, postie.
A man who was planning a documentary about Greg King, who represented Ewan in court. Greg King has had other very, very, very controversial cases.
Right.
You've referenced him in one of your cases.
David Bain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he shot himself, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, that's very insensitive to say.
On the 3rd of November 2013, Ewan's well-known lawyer, Greg King, was found dead in Wellington.
Yeah.
The findings of the coroner were released and it was determined to be suicide.
Well, you can see where he's coming from. He's represented the most horrible... Well,
I know, reading the book though and getting the perspective from, what was happening, and they troll through everything. He seemed like...
in a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah. People can seem like that as... Yeah, people can see like that as well though, yeah.
I know. Right. In November 2014, Ewan was denied parole. That was his 3rd attempt. He was granted parole on his 4th appearance on the 13th of October 2015 and was freed from prison on the 2nd of November 2015, subject to strict parole terms.
Yeah.
So 10 years on, Kylie has said that she would find out who has done this. In 2015, Kylie had a private investigator, Phil Jones, from Amiga Investigations, look into the case, but this stopped due to lack of funds, and the family can only spend so much money.
Yeah.
3 months after the trial, Graham passed away.
Oh, Graham was...
Sorry. I think Brian passed away.
Right, okay, yeah.
I don't know why I've put Graham.
Dead, yeah.
And then in 2011, Scott's cousin, the son of Joe's sister, so his mum's sister's son, was killed after being pushed out of the second floor window at a Perth pub.
Ew.
Andy Marshall, a grown-up. Andy Marshall, who had grown up with the Guy family and worked on the farm at one stage. I have no clue. Fucking Jesus. Who had worked on the farm at one stage and... Okay, yeah, so at the time, Ewan was being tried.
Yeah.
The other family member in Australia died and their person was also being sentenced and they got 14 years.
Okay.
2 seconds. So, a man called Gallivan, who was planning a documentary about Greg King, the lawyer who successfully defended Ewan, believes the police investigation had many holes. He said he started thinking it was likely Ewan did it and ended concluding he didn't. Most of New Zealanders probably think Ewan McDonald was guilty, but he was lucky he got off. What they don't realise is that there were others who were equally, if not more, in frame, and that was made aware to the jury, hence why I think the decision the jury made was justified. So to acquit Ewan was acquitted of the crime of murdering Scott.
Yeah.
And there were potentially other people that they should have looked into.
Yeah.
So, not long now. Gallivan believes that there were 3 suspects that the Crown ruled out. The first suspect was a renowned criminal who had been involved in a burglary just hours before Scott was killed. He stole cannabis and Winford Gold cigarettes, the same brand on the packet that was found at the crime scene. Although this man was known to use shotguns, police accepted an alibi from his partner, who was also high on methamphetamine at the time.
Interesting.
He was known as a local violent criminal who was a burglar. He had name suppression, but it is known that he was involved in a robbery before midnight, and what was stolen was swapped for 2 grams of meth. Then he went out again for a long time. So his alibi, which was accepted by police, came from his partner, who thought he came home maybe around 4, but admittedly she was pretty wrecked on meth herself, and who was also a well-known criminal and charged with threatening to kill a police officer's family previously.
Wow.
Part of what the man got from his first burglary were the cigarettes. He was also in a car when he committed these burglaries.
Right, okay.
Which could have been the tyre treads.
Yeah.
Another suspect was a man who turned up at Scott and Kylie's old house smelling of alcohol and cigarettes a few weeks prior to his death. The third person was a farmer, Simon Asplum, who had personality clashes with Scott. He told the court that the day before Scott was shot, he went for a job interview in Palmerston North. He originally started working on the farm in 2002 and was essentially the second in charge until Scott came back. So he left in 2006 and returned less than 2 years later. There was still tension between Scott and Simon, as Scott took Simon's job. When he got back the day Scott was killed, Simon had taken several hours off for the job interview. Simon had weird behaviour the morning of the killing. When he went home to have breakfast between milkings and jobs, his flatmate asked, what had happened, why are all these police here? And he told them it was fine. Told him something serious had happened but wouldn't tell him anything more. He took several hours off for the job interview. He had weird behaviour that morning of the killing. When he was found by Ewan, he was told something serious had happened, but Ewan wouldn't tell him anything more, and he'd fill him in later, and he should go home for breakfast. What would Simon gain with Scott out of the picture?
He'd get his job back.
He would return to his 2IC position. He was even offered the role that he interviewed for, but turned it down.
Oh.
He owns semi-automatic 12-gauge Benelli Super 90 shotgun, which could fire several shots at once without reloading. But again, that's circumstantial evidence. We're just saying that he doesn't mean he did.
Wait, so did he choose to leave Scott's job to get another interview somewhere?
No, so he was working on the farm. So when Scott came back, before Scott came back, it was him and Ewan.
Yeah.
So he was doing what Ewan told him.
Yeah.
Scott came back and he lost his cushy tractor job.
Oh, he lost it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he actually took it. Yeah.
He didn't lose his job. His position description changed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So he drove a 4-door sedan and turned up to work early, which he never does. He has a semi-automatic, and his sister and partner were away at the time, so it wouldn't have been, no one was there to say he wasn't at home, or was at home. If Simon had committed the crime, he would be able to return to an empty home. On the morning of his murder, he told his girlfriend Scott had been shot, long before it was common knowledge. He claimed Matthew Ireland told him, but Ireland was absolutely sure he didn't, because he wasn't told about it until much later. Simon's behaviour following the murder was weird. He even stated that one good thing to come out of this was, I'm back on the tractor where I belong. So the defence has also raised the mystery sedan that Matthew Ireland had seen driving along the road on his way to work. The car had been coming from the direction of the murder scene just after police said Scott Guy was shot. It was never traced despite appeals to the public. 2 weeks before Scott was shot, David Berry, who rented a house where Scott Guy used to live, recalls a tall, unshaven man with dark hair banging on his door looking for Scott, smelling of alcohol and cigarettes. Ireland recalled a car coming up from the direction of Scott's house as he arrived at work, almost exactly the same time as police said Scott was shot. He also recalled another car just after 5, but no cars were identified. This was pointed out by Peter Coles, another of Ewan's lawyers, that the cars seen by Ireland remain a critical part of this case and is still unsolved.
So how did he not recognise the man? Was the porch light not on or something? Because he said a man was banging on his door looking for Scott.
He'd just never seen him before.
But could he have been shown a picture of Ewan or Simon or something? Like, could he have...
He knows Ewan.
Okay, so could he have been shown a picture of, like, Simon and, like, compared to?
He knows,
or, like...
he knows them. They both work on the farm.
Oh, okay, so
it's someone he doesn't know.
So someone, okay, yeah.
The only way you would know about Aorangi Road was if you knew of its existence and had a reason to be on it.
Right.
Peter Coles, who knew both the Guy and MacDonald families, said the jury got it right and the police disregarded more likely suspect.
Obviously not on purpose, but still.
Investigator and former detective Paul Bass, who worked on the case for the defence, said the police detection is very poor. He stated that the case was based on bias of the damages and activities with Callum Bow. The bias continued after the jury found him not guilty. A lady called Sue stated outside the court that the police weren't actively looking for anyone else. Paul was adamant the police attempted to stop MacDonald's defence, not disclosing for over a year until the defence suspected it that they'd bugged Ewan's phone, where they recorded 204 conversations but nothing incriminating him. So Paul Bass, who was also a part of the Armed Defenders and commemorated for his actions during the 1990 Aramoana shooting, stresses he was not anti-police, but he does believe the public deserve a level of professionalism that was not displayed in this case.
Right.
Tim McKinnell, another detective,
I've mentioned him before,
who looked at this case, insists non-disclosure of such fundamental evidence wouldn't have been an oversight. It's deliberate and you don't forget to do it. McKinnell was the investigator who exposed Tenapora's wrongful conviction.
That's the one.
And says he wasn't surprised of Ewan's acquittal. He stated he was surprised they charged him, and as it played out and quoted the prosecution unravelled it, it became clear that they did not have the evidence. They were running on theories that were not supported by evidence.
Yeah.
David Berry is still traumatised and fears there is a killer still on the loose. When Joe and Brian look at Hunter and Drover, they see Scotty and glimpses of his personality. So there is a thing on TVNZ. Didn't watch it because I got real bad writer's block. But Kylie does do her best to keep her children out of the public view.
Yeah.
So please leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Good luck editing that, Chris.
No, it was good though. I was considering I've literally been to where he was murdered. Well, outside, because you're right. Like when my friend, like you have to go off somewhere random, but very interesting. I never knew his name. I really wish I had. I didn't know anything about that case, even though I did know some things, but not. Yeah, very very interesting.
So we'll let you form your own opinions. I've got my opinion.
I don't really know, in all honesty. Maybe the couple. Is that who you think? Maybe.
My opinion's just Ewan didn't do it.
Yeah. Well, you can see that.
I don't know who did it, but I don't think Ewan.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he'd done lots of other bad stuff, but I don't think that.
But give it honestly, do a deep dive into this case. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I think I'll have to. I'll have to read that book that you were reading as well. Big book.
Mental. It's not even that big, but it's got so much information in it. But yeah, that was Scott Guy, and I am going to go get a glass of water now because holy crap. And I am Ayla.
And I'm Andy.
And this was
Sinister Dynasty.